Absolutely. And I think to summarize here, we've seen a market recovery clearly on the Bitcoin network as well as on the Ethereum network. There is a drawdown of 55% of the selling pressure coming onto crypto exchanges. So this is a very healthy level that we see now of the Ether on Bitcoin or Ethereum exchanges. And this is quite exciting. What are the other reasons for you, Max, to remain positive looking at the blockchain data? And we're really proud to actually show here one of our charts directly sourced from the Ethereum blockchain that shows you the deposits and the withdrawals on the Ethereum network itself. As you guys know, Ethereum is as a security mechanism for putting in capital to secure the network instead of using supercomputers. So as such, we can look into the stake or the capital of the Ethereum network to understand the investors' behaviors and assess whether the Ethereum blockchain had a structural issue or not. And clearly, what we can see here is that we had absolutely no blockchain structural issues and that the network was working as intended, which is very important to understand also what has been the behavior of the security administrators of the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah, no, for sure. As Ellie rightfully mentioned, it can give us an insight into the kind of structural, like the security on a structural side of Ethereum, but it can also give us a little bit of an insight, the sentiment of these stakers. Holding ETH is one thing, but then staking ETH, as Ellie correctly mentioned, is a whole nother level of kind of commitment, requires you to actually lock up the assets for a given period of time. And so the fact that throughout this week, we haven't seen massive exodus from staking activities is a really positive thing. We actually saw net positive deposits since Monday of 37K ETH. On top of that, the validator queue is also not being exited with positive entries throughout the week. Naturally, if you look at the graph, you can see that activity was largely subdued throughout the week due to this kind of downturn that we saw, and there might have been some fear and some uncertainty. But the fact that, as Ellie mentioned, we didn't see a structural issue with Ethereum staking and we didn't see massive jumps in the exit queues is a really positive thing. And the last kind of benefit here, or little point I'd like to leave you with, is that Ethereum staked ETH is actually at 34 million ETH, which is an all-time high, meaning that Ethereum is secure as ever.
Exactly. And also, I think to give some perspective to the investors here, because most of us are not looking at Ether as a medium of exchange, or at least as a unit of account. So 37 Ether represents over $90 million in Ether invested on the Ethereum blockchain to secure it. So this is quite unprecedented amidst such a market correction. Okay, moving on to the historical drawdowns. Max, within a minute or two, can you tell us very quickly what are the lessons that we learned from the COVID-19 market crash, Luna and Terra, as well as FTX?
For sure. I'll keep it short and sweet. It would be easy to say Bitcoin has survived drawdowns before, so it'll survive them again. And I don't want that to be the message that's taken away, but it has actually survived bigger drawdowns. In COVID-19 was a very macro-driven drawdown, and around June, end of June, beginning of June, with the Luna and Three Arrows capital collapse, it was also a bigger downturn. The positive thing being here is that it did recover, and to reach the same valuation, it took Bitcoin approximately 47 days post-COVID-19 crash. And admittedly, it took around 9 months following the kind of Three Arrows and capital collapse. To add a little bit of context here, Bitcoin was on its way back up in 2022 following that collapse, but obviously the FTX scandal came in around November 2022, which kind of halted the progress it was making. As Ellie alluded to on Monday, Bitcoin drawdowns of more than 10%, they're statistically relevant and happening every quarter. And so while you might not be able to anticipate such an event in terms of timing, it is something that investors can expect within the asset.